Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Captain Smegory of the 6th NG, and today I'm going to be taking you guys on a tour of our training ground in Arma 3. Now, we're going to be going around multiple training facilities in this tour, including 3 ranges, a kill house you can see down there, an airfield that I quickly threw together, and a driving range. Or rather, driving area. Probably call it a range, I don't know. As well as the area where I placed all the players, just in little Nissen huts. Anyway, without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so area number 1. Sorry, I'll get that off my screen. Area number 1 is a bog standard rifle range that I threw together. So here I'll be using the classic British L85A2 with an LDS sight. It's what the British Army use currently, and it's what the 6th NG use as a British Army regiment. Now, this is your regular bog standard range. I added all these things, so there's a sandbag there that you can rest your gun on, or you can rest it just on the map before it. Either works fine. I think this way might limit your how far down you could aim, but it's not as if that matters unless you're trying to shoot these plants. Anyway, if I go ahead and take a few shots here, you can see, I'll show you this in a minute, you can test out your accuracy. It's easier to see where you hit on these ones because they don't go back down, they don't go down instantly, so you can see for a while on the target where you hit. But something interesting about these yellow pop-up targets is, if I run out here, just put my gun on my back, perfect. Which ones have I hit? This one I hit, yeah, there you go, you can see 2 right there. I can actually check the scoreboard, so Captain Smegory, shots 3, minimum distance, max distance are both the same, obviously, because all 3 shots were at the same distance. Average distance again is the same, because they were all from the same firing position. And direct hits, it says 3, so you can see 1 and 2 in the head, and I believe that's 1 right down there underneath the clock. So yeah, that's this is our shooting range. It's pretty bog standard, it's quite short range as well. I'm considering extending it backwards because it poses really no challenge, but it does allow players to get used to each weapon and each sight quite easily, especially in terms of things like the more CQB style short range sights, because obviously this is quite a short range. So obviously I'm ranged at the moment to 300 meters, it says in the top right. I can't change that because there's the fixed, but the increments on my scope, so the 4, 6 and 8, they're all 100 meters, so if it's 400 I aim at that increment, 600 aim at the 6, 8 aim at the 8 of course. But it does allow for the shorter range sights for people to get a feel of different weapon systems and different sights. So yeah, it's very bog standard. In terms of switching weapons, so you're not always using the same weapon you spawned with. Don't know why I have 2, but I have 2 virtual arsenals, and there is a virtual arsenal, at least one, at every single facility today. So I feel like I should only have to say that once. Every single facility does have a virtual arsenal for switching weapons. Anyway, I think that's everything I wanted to say about this range. So now we will be moving on to a little invention I had myself. It's probably been done many times before, but never that I'd seen, so yeah, I hope you guys enjoy that. Okay, moving on to facility number 2. You can see the virtual arsenals there, I wasn't lying, I do have them everywhere. This has probably been done quite a lot before, I'd never seen it done, and this is a little thing I came up with for testing the penetration of different weapons. So it's quite cool, because the shot will drop quite a lot after it slows down. I tend to lie down and aim roughly at the crotch area of the first target, and you can see if I put 1 down range, you can see that dropped 3 targets. I'm not going to go ahead and change my weapon, but you can take my word for it that if I was firing, for instance, a 9mm weapon system, or I've done this with the 50 BMG before, where it's penned all the way back to like this target here. So it's very good for just seeing. It's normally not hard to judge anyway, the power of a weapon, but this is a little viewing area, you see, so you can actually, as far as I'm aware, if I were to lie down anyway, come in here maybe. I haven't actually tested this, I'm just checking something quickly. So yeah, if I was to come in here, I should be able to... Okay, apparently not. Sorry, this is a weird tangent then. I assumed you could also check the scoreboard on these targets. Apparently that's it's not possible though. I had no idea. There we go. Quick way out. So you can't check the scores to see where you've hit. So I took out part of my range there apparently. But yeah, you can have someone viewing for you, and you can just have an area to test out the different penetration of weapons. So I think again that's all I want to say for this area. So we'll be moving on to my own little shoot house that I created. So I hope you guys enjoy that, and I'll see you in a second. So as you guys can probably imagine, my guy is very out of breath from running between all these facilities. But here we now find ourselves in the starting / briefing area for this little shoot house. If you don't know what a shoot house is, it's basically an area made up of all these wooden boxes where you test CQB, which is close quarters battling, I suppose. And so it has a lot of thin corridors, a lot of targets dotted around. Normally you'd probably want an SMG for the best results, because quick to turn, quick fire rate, very lightweight gun, and that does shift over in Arma as well. It's much easier to do CQB with a pistol or an SMG. But I'm going to go ahead and just do a little, well, probably quite a quick demonstration of our little CQB range. So I'll line up to go. I'll probably be silent for this because I'll be concentrating, but please enjoy. Alright, you guys join me back now that that smoke is cleared, and this, I'm not actually doing a demonstration of this bit right now. I'll do one in a minute, but this is sort of a courtyard clearance sort of thing, so I don't know why that guy's so high in the air, but basically there's just a lot of targets behind cover and you have to find the best to take them out. So the way I would start by doing this, just a little demonstration here, is just, I'm actually leaning now, it's just edging around this corner, using that sight. That's control right click to switch between sights if you weren't aware, and just edge round. If you had a flashbang, then this would be obviously an ideal time to use something like that. You could possibly flash and run. And that was all the targets down. So yeah, there are other methods to do it, but with just a bog standard rifle, that is, as far as I'm aware, just the best. and simplest way. Sometimes simple is best. So now moving on again, we have the final section of this facility, and I'm not going to do a jump cut here like I've been doing for everything else because I'm just going to go straight on into it. This is, if you can't tell by the big concrete walls stopping shrapnel, this is a small grenade range. So, if you didn't take grenades, I put arsenals down there, but I believe I did, so I have one grenade here, so I'll only try out one of them. Basically, this one, these arrows aren't done yet, so they're also off the ground, some of these obstacles. A lot of this needs work on that I haven't got around to doing yet. But those arrows should be pointing in towards that target, and that top arrow there should be pointing up. So that's basically symbolizing you have to get one in the top and bottom floor of that bunker. This is saying you should get one in the bunker. That one's just saying roll it underneath and there's a target at the other end. And that one there with the H barriers, that is actually quite interesting. What that is symbolizing, that arrow there, is the fact that there's actually a hole in the middle of all those H barriers, and you have to try and throw a grenade up and in. But I'm just going to do the simplest one, which is just throw one under there using the A system and then lie down, because I'd rather not die to shrapnel. Anyway, that concludes this facility. That was a shoot house, and then an unfinished courtyard area and an unfinished grenade range. The next section should hopefully be a lot more finished for you guys, so so you shouldn't have to look at ugly things like a floating barricade or a floating bunker. But I will get onto that next, and in fact from here you can see our next facility that we're going to, which is in fact my sniper range. So I'll see you guys there. Okay, so you guys join me now back at the sniper range, or up at the sniper range should I say, which you will be able to see shortly. But I just decided I would bring you guys, sorry there's a wee bit of wall, I would bring you guys into the arsenal with me, just so I could really just show off how nice I think our little 6th NG emblem looks. Now 6th NG is a Milsim group that I'm a part of. This is the training area that I built for that group. I'm actually the leader of it. We're currently very low on numbers and are recruiting literally everyone and anyone, and we'll take you around this this little training area, or very large training area actually. It's basically this entire desert map. We'll take you around the whole thing, show you the ropes, even if you're completely new to Arma. I believe we're getting a couple recruits in quite shortly who are buying the game just to join this group, and so they'll have to be shown the ropes. If you're not experienced with Milsim, that's fine. Honestly, no prior experience is required with anything, including Arma 3. Also, there's no age limit, unlike a lot of Milsim groups. We're literally looking for anyone and everyone who's even at all interested. And so there'll be a link to our pages in the description, and I'll put my Steam name if anyone wants to add me and just message me. Drop me a quick message about joining. I'll put a Steam group and our mod list in the description as well. So any smidgen of information about the 6th NG that you guys might want will be in the description. And so you guys can look forward to that. But there's our little emblem. That's not part of this uniform, that's just a little thing that we have added on as part of this unit. And I hope to see you guys out on the battlefield if you do decide to join. So here we are in the sniper range again, as you just saw through the arsenal. It's very similar in terms of layout to the shooting range. This box area doesn't really look different apart from the fact that the range is miles out there, and you can actually see the furthest target. I believe that's 1.3k away, then 900, and then these are just random increments away. I had them all at 100, but then I thought actually that's a bit too easy. If you could just then very quickly switch between them. So using my SOFLAM, the British rangefinder, it uses a laser to find my range. So if I click, and if I actually go into thermal mode, you should be able to see my little laser there, which is very cool. So that's what's giving me my range. So I think, which target should I go for? I don't want to embarrass myself and miss the furthest one, so I'll go for this one that's basically dead on 500 out. So I haven't checked what the wind's doing actually. Okay, so wind is minor. I need to range my sight for 500. I'll go ahead and set up my position and possibly aim slightly to the right if the wind is there, and I'll one down range. And there we go, you can see target down, perfect. Now I'm not going to pretend like I could do that with any of these other targets, really. This one possibly first time, this one would probably take a couple of ranging shots, and this one I've hit one time and I fired about 100 shots at it, so I'm not pretending like I'm some elite sniper by the fact that I managed to hit that one. It's only 500 out anyway. That's only half the effective range of the rifle I was using on the shooting range, so yeah, that's my sniper range, and I'm here actually in a British sniper loadout with a I'll reload again because it's a good way to show off the gun. With a L115A3, which is the AWP actually, but it's the British designation of the AWP. So in the same way that the rifle I was using earlier is actually called an SA-80 A2, the British designation is the L85, which is what most people know it as. Though I feel like most people know this as the AWP, but it's a bolt action sniper rifle used by the British Army at the moment. Anyway, I think that concludes our sniper section, and now moving on to one of the last sections. You can see the aircraft over there, but we're actually going to go to my little driving area first, and just give it a once round the course. I do have first person only, which makes flying and stuff a bit harder, but obviously Milsim, you want to go for realism. It also makes driving a lot harder. Never before in a game have I actually had to use wing mirrors when reversing and stuff, so exciting stuff. Anyway, I will see you guys down at the driving range presently. So here we are at the driving range. You can see 6 Land Rover Defenders as far as I'm aware. Is that what it says on the front? Oh god, I'm still double tapped on. Yep, Land Rover Defenders. Now these are actually an amazing vehicle. They've served the British through a really long time, and it's just really, I just really have a real soft spot for them. You can see the finish line behind me. Finish obviously written backwards there because it should be written forwards the other direction. You can see a few little things, just a wee bit of fire over there, but that comes later. So I'm just going to go ahead and hop in this Land Rover as driver, start up the engine and drive it to the start line. Now, a piece of advice when driving an Arma, again, same with the sniper, I'm not going to pretend like I'm some sort of professional, but I'm still going to go ahead and give advice when I feel it's good. A key to driving in first person is as soon as you get in, just go ahead and double tap Alt. Now this, or by default it's double tap Alt, this will allow me to move my camera around freely using my mouse. I also do this with my joystick when I'm flying, and it allows me to use the hat stick on top to look around with one hand while still flying with that hand as well. But what this will allow you to do is just like follow your eyesight around corners, so effectively as if you were just able to look around the vehicle. Right, that was the end of my lap, and I will confess to having gone around that a couple times on recording, and then I think I'll cut out the first one because I think the second one I did it much more to the best of my abilities. Anyway, I just think it's a very bumpy off-road type of course, but I think it plays right into the strengths of the Land Rover Defender, even in Arma. Obviously, Arma isn't a perfect representation of everything, especially not when it comes to vehicles. Often it can be quite buggy, and if I'm honest, the aircraft flight model, helicopters is great. The aircraft flight model for aircraft is it's not quite flight simulator levels, but in terms of the Defender, they did a really good job with it, and I think you can tell that just by the fact that I was getting up to decent speeds while still in full control going on this rugged off-road course. So that's my little driving range. At the moment I've only got Defenders. I might add some Jackals and Coyotes, which are the other two main British lightly armoured ground vehicles. So yeah, I'm going to add more to this map as well, possibly in terms of vehicles. I mean in terms of having like an area for tanks, possibly APCs and tanks in one sort of range maybe, but that's another project for another time. Anyway, moving on to aircraft now. This one's a bit exciting. At the moment I don't have any targets for them, but you know, you can just play around with some British helicopters, which I think I'll show you guys some clips of me doing that presently. Alright guys, so first things first, in terms of aircraft, we're going to be looking through helicopters. So these are helicopters of the British Army. There is actually one that I've forgotten, and if I'm honest, it's probably the one the majority of people watching would actually know, which is the Apache Longbow, AH-64D. I actually forgot this one because all the ones here are actually transport, and I have not added in any CAS targets yet, so I figured there wasn't that much point in adding in a CAS helicopter. So I'll take you round what each of the helicopters are from my knowledge anyway. I mean, I know roughly what each of them are, but I might get certain things wrong, don't penalise me. Now, first things first, in terms of each helicopter, this is a British Armed Forces Chinook, and an interesting fact about my life is I'm an air cadet, and I've actually had the privilege of having a flight in one of these. I was sitting right next to that window, and those windows, the ones like these, there's also one at the end, I think, in the one I flew in. They stick out, and it's really weird because it feels like if you put your hand right to the edge and touch the glass, it feels like it's gone through the window. It's a very odd feeling. Obviously the one I flew in didn't have large chain guns on the side, unfortunately, but we did fly with the back ramp open, which was very interesting. So that's just a little bit of trivia about myself. Yeah, so that's also where I get most of my knowledge about these things from, air cadets. I've got some great opportunities from that. So yes, we have two Chinooks just because the amount of players that was training depends on the facilities, and so we can train more people if you have more helicopters. So then moving on, we have the Merlin, which is a very good helicopter, has served the RAF for a very long time, as well as the Puma over there, but we'll move on to that. The Merlin is, as far as I'm aware, the secondary transport, so I'd say the Chinook is the most common and obviously the largest transport helicopter that the British Air Force use. The Merlin fills in the gaps between a small one like, say, the Wildcat over there, or the Puma, and a large one such as the Chinook. So it sort of fills in the gap between them, and it is a very smooth helicopter to fly in Arma. It responds really well, but it's not too maneuverable where it jerks around the sky when you move the joystick too much. So now moving on to the Puma. This again, like the Merlin, has served the RAF for a very, very long time. It's a very good helicopter. I've been inside one of these, I've been around one of these multiple times, but I've never actually flown in one like I have the Chinook. But They are getting rid of the Puma now. I'm not sure if it's out of service or going out of service. But it's a real shame because it's been a very good helicopter for a very long time. You can see it, even in Arma, it does look kind of old though. Looks like a bit of an older, smaller design compared to the Wildcat over there, or especially compared to the Chinook. Looks very modern and technologically advanced. Anyway, that's the Puma. That's just a little sad fact, is they're getting rid of it. So moving on to the final helicopter, and I said they were all transports. This one is actually fitted out for CAS, which is, stands for Combat Air Support. That basically just means supporting ground troops. So it has a rocket pod there with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 rockets. And what looks to be, if I had to make a guess, 10 mil cannon? 10 mil autocannon, possibly more. I'll get in and check actually. That's a good wee thing to check if it says. Oh fuck, that's the rockets. M621. I will look that up and tell you guys before the end of this video. Sorry about shooting that rocket there. It's really loud in game for me. Just ruined my ears. I will look up the size of that autocannon, but it does work very well. Anyway, that is the end of our helicopters. That's the 4 main transport helicopters. There is a non-CAS version of the Wildcat in game. I've just got the CAS one placed down at the moment. 2 CAS ones. I'll probably switch them for transport ones, because I think for CAS the 6th NG primarily uses Apache longbows, AH-64s. So that concludes our helicopter section. That is the 4 main British transport helicopters. And now, as you can see over there, we'll be moving on to aircraft, which is exciting. So I will see all you guys there in an instant. So before we actually start going through each of the aircraft, also you might look at that and think that's not a British aircraft, but I will get onto that later, or very shortly actually. I just want to go through this pilot loadout I've got going on. So I can actually go into the splendid camera for this. It's just standard BAF equipment, but what I really want to draw your attention to is this weapon. And I actually didn't know about this weapon, even though I'm a bit of a British Army Air Force, British Armed Forces. I'm a bit of a, it's kind of like my religion, basically. I pride myself on knowing quite a lot about it. But I didn't actually know about this weapon system until fairly recently. What it is, it's a carbine version of the L85 A2, and it's an SMG as far as I'm aware. I don't think it's classed a full assault rifle, but it's basically a much shorter barrel one, and this is actually probably a much more ideal weapon to use on my CQB range. Now I'm just using it with iron sights now, but you can attach scopes and sights. It's sort of clipping into my helmet a bit as well, but that's just Arma 3 for you. I think internally it's basically identical to the L85, apart from shorter barrel. However, yeah, you can attach sights, and earlier I was using a Schmidt & Bender, one of the really big sniper rifle scopes. I think it was the same one I was actually using at the sniper range section, and it was literally like the end of the scope went to the end of the barrel. It honestly looked adorable but hilarious at the same time. But yeah, I just wanted to go on a little tangent about this gun that I didn't actually know about until very recently, and I think I learned about it through Arma, which was quite interesting. So you can see sporting the big emblem there. Doesn't look so good in large, but hey ho, it's very bright as well. But that can't be helped. Anyway, I'll go ahead and close the splendid camera, and we'll move on to our first aircraft. Now you're probably screaming into your monitor now that this isn't a British aircraft, and you're right. I'm trying to remember what aircraft it is. It's the L159. I believe it is. It's used by a lot of Slavic countries, I think. I think Russia uses it. It's quite a lightweight aircraft. The only reason I actually have this here is because the British aircraft, the British training aircraft, so the aircraft they used to train the jet pilots, on how to fly a jet compared to a regular light aircraft. Also, I don't know what happened there with the cockpit going white. That's weird. That's Arma. Yeah, so the aircraft I actually use to train is the RAF Hawk, and I was looking up mods to actually get an RAF Hawk, and as far as I can see, there is none. There's one in development, which looks like a really good mod. I might put a link in description if I can find it again. Which adds a lot of British Armed Forces and British Air Force things. But it's not currently available, and this is by far the closest thing. So this is a similar sized, similar setup, and looks quite similar actually in terms of shape and things to the Hawk. It's also still got the a very similar single engine right at the back there. And so that's the reason why we're using this, is because it is by far the most similar to the training aircraft that the RAF actually use. And when you're being trained on jets in the 6th NG, this is the first jet aircraft, and I think aircraft at all, that you'll be solo flying. So moving on, we have another hangar with another 2 of these aircraft, back to back, or rather one behind the other. But then we come on to the big daddies. Here we have 2 C-130s. I'm not sure why I did one in black and one in green grey camouflage. Just how it worked out in the end. Or I can't tell if that's green and grey or blue and grey, but like dark grey. It's weird. It's an odd one, that. Anyway, 2 C-130s. This is obviously, if you're wanting to be a large aircraft pilot, you can go ahead and hop in one of these. They're quite fun to fly, though can be a bit of a bitch in taking off on a short runway at times. Especially this one. As I said, I think I said at the start, I did in fact make this airfield myself, and so the ground isn't 100% even, so takeoff can be quite bumpy. And the runways aren't that long because I had limited space. But now we're moving on to the I really should know this, F-35, that's the one, Lightning II. Now this, I don't know if there are any in British service right now. I think the British are still using the Eurofighter as opposed to this. However, this is a very nice looking aircraft. It's sort of like a mix between an F-18 and an F-22. But it does look very nice, and this is the aircraft the British are actually getting. There's also the one that's in the British Armed Forces mod. So there's no Eurofighter in that mod, but there is one of these. You can see it's sporting a probably a 20mm. In fact, I think that is a Gal 22. So I don't know if that means it's a 22mm, or I don't know what that means. I'll probably look that one up for you guys as well, if I remember. No promises. We have a AIM-9, which is another, well, that's the designation of a Sidewinder, I think. And then, yeah, and then we have 2 radar-guided Mavericks. No, not Mavericks. The Mavericks, the little ground attack one, isn't it? Yeah, it's escaped my brain what those are called. I really should know that as well. Anyway, moving around, we have a symmetrical weapons loadout on this, so same on both sides. And then that's really it for the aircraft. I'll probably give some of these aircraft in helicopter a fly around, and I'll show you some of the footage of that. But these 3 hangars are all F-35s. I just think they look so menacing coming around this corner just from face on. Like they look scary, but good scary. Like, you wouldn't want that coming right towards you. Anyway, this concludes the vast majority of this base. Those Nissan huts there are just where I place the player models, so you can select a character and then choose to spawn at any of these arsenal locations. So this is the spawn point for aircraft. You can quickly get to the F-35s, or it's a bit of a trek to the I want to say 139s? Whatever they are. I'm just going to call them Hawks because that's what they're supposed to be. That's the equivalent. So it's a bit of a trek to the Hawks and the C-130s, but there's the helicopter spawn point as well. So again, that's a bit of a trek to the Wildcat, but If you're not willing to trek, then you probably shouldn't join a Milsim group, if I'm honest. A lot of Milsim operations are just walking, but I think this is the end of this little tour. Actually, taking you around every current section. All of this is subject to change potentially if I don't like it, or if other people have constructive criticism. In fact, that's a good point actually. Any constructive criticism, just bung it down in the comments section. Don't give criticism if it's just, oh, you're shit. You know. I mean, I'll take it. I'm not gonna go off crying about it, but it's just a bit of a dick move. Constructive criticism would be appreciated. If you like it, let me know. If you desperately would like it, I could put it up on the Steam Workshop, but I don't know how necessary that would be. Anyway, yeah, so this is really the last section. I'm gonna possibly have some footage of me flying around in some of the aircraft with my mic muted. So you can leave now if you're just here for the tour. If you'd like to see some of these aircraft being flown, little clips of it. I'm not gonna fly around for 20 minutes in each of them. I'll just pick a couple and do a short circuit, possibly in a time lapse if I feel it drags on a bit. But yeah, so go ahead and leave now if you'd rather not see that. I won't be offended. Or stick around if you'd like to see that. Alright, so I have been Captain Smegory of the 6th Northumbrian Guard Regiment, British Army, and this is me signing off. So thanks for watching. Leave a like, subscribe to the 6th NG, join us on Arma 3. No experience required, and thank you guys all so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video.